Oh man, coming up next, I found an interview I did years ago with an 80s icon and I thought it was lost. This legend takes us through his songs that were the backbone of the 80s. Songs that everybody knows, everybody loves, including a song that was measured by scientists to have one of the highest vibration readings in a special experiment. It might be the most positive song ever recorded, and it has a chorus we all sing at the top of our lungs. It's impossible not to sing along to. Then there's a story of his biggest hit that would have been a guaranteed #1 hit, but his label was in a dispute with some of the big radio stations. So in protest, these stations wouldn't add the song to all their playlists, and it cost him a #1 hit. Find out the story next from him. The song came from a cheesy line a promoter said to him, turned it into a smash. The song is actually praised for its unique drum loop, which everyone assumed was played by the famous drummer-singer who produced the track, but was actually played by today's singer who didn't even play the drums. It really confused fans, though, when he put out 2 versions of the song and they were on the radio at the same time. Stories are coming up with a great icon next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember playing on a pogo ball, you'll dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Remember pogo ball is what you call it? Make sure to subscribe below right now so you know when our latest and greatest come out. Also, check out our podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify. It's totally searchable. You can find anything on there of the 800 plus interviews I've done. Make sure to subscribe and rate us there. You can actually click on the link right up here or below to get to the podcast. Let's go to #1. I'm excited to bring you a brand new show today. I'm going to call it Retrospective. Get it? Where an artist takes us through their 5 biggest hits and gives us the inside baseball, their retrospective, their perspective. We start with the legend, Howard Jones, from 2 interviews I've done with him. The first one I did years ago, but the file that was turned into 2 video files was lost for about a decade. One part was always there, but the second file I thought was lost forever. But the other day I randomly found it. Glad I did, because it's Howard's, or should I say Hojo, as we call him, sharing the story of Things Can Only Get Better. Not only one of the greatest songs in 1985, but actually has one of the highest musical vibrations ever recorded by scientists. It's got to be that sing-along, upbeat chorus, man. Hojo also shares the story of his first hit, What Is Love? Which he actually wrote a sequel to about 6 years later. That became the huge hit, Everlasting Love. And then there's a song that became his biggest hit, No One Is to Blame. Came from a cheesy saying that a promoter said to him, and he turned it into a smash, and it actually missed #1. It would have been a #1 hit, but it had to settle for #4 when many big radio stations wouldn't play it. Find out next from Hojo why. It's the story of Howard Jones' biggest hits, straight from him. Let's get into it.
New Song was my, I always say, it was my manifesto. So it was it was really why I wanted to do music, and it was what I wanted to say with my music. And it very clearly, and there's no sort of 2 ways about it. It says, don't crack up, bend your brain, see both sides, throw off your mental chains. And, celebrate being alive. It's an amazing thing to be born as a human being. Let's make the absolute most of it. And really, I'm so glad that it was a hit, because it actually established I don't think anybody's had the line preconceived ideas in a song before, in a pop song. And it was about, I'd been working in a factory in High Wycombe, and I'd been, dreaming of doing my music, and I was, staying up late and doing demos and, coming to work, falling asleep at work sometimes, and I kept on believing that I could do what I really wanted to do and what I was good at. And I wanted to put that message into the song to say, look, whatever it is you really want to do, if you are absolutely determined and you don't give up when the barriers come to stop you, then you will get there. And because I did, if I can do it, then so can other people.
The first time that you heard your song on the radio, after working so hard, do you remember where you were? Just tell me about that really quick.
I do remember it. And I haven't told this story very many times, but it was scheduled to come on Radio 1 as part of what they called it. They called it like Round Table, where they used to review the new singles coming out. One of the guys on the panel was Gary Newman. And so I knew, they told me that it was gonna be played the first time. And I was absolutely, I was scared out of my mind about what it was gonna sound like and what the people were gonna say about it. And I remember actually I was in my bedroom and I pulled the duvet over my head out of like, anyway. I did listen to it, and Gary Newman, bless his heart, gave it, he said, this is going to be huge, this record, this is going to be massive. And I've never been able to sort of see him and meet him and tell him how grateful I am to him for saying that. And Gary Newman, you know, the coolest guy in synths.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was great.
First single that I heard, that I remember, outside of No One Is to Blame, when I realized, like, who is this guy? It was What Is Love?
My background is all about, philosophy, really. I love philosophy. I love to ask the big questions, but it's more like not giving the answers, but throwing it out there so that people can think about it and be encouraged to think about those big things. Romanticized love, that so much of pop music has been about. I love you even if you think that I don't. Question this idea and think it through and find out what you really feel about what love is. That's really what the song's about for me. And also, when you truly love people, then you will really want them to be free to do what they want to do. You don't hold them, you don't tie them down. The third verse is, and maybe love is letting people be what they want to be, and the door must be left unlocked.
Or codependency.
Yeah, or codependency, which, is not really a great thing, which most pop songs about love are, really. Baby, I Can't Live Without You is not a really great way to live your life, to be honest, because, at some point that person won't be there, and what's going to happen to you? Are you going to be, destroyed? Or, a great relationship is two strong people going in the same direction together. I just always hope that people never took it as a cynical song, as saying, love doesn't exist. No, I absolutely don't mean that. But let's define what love may be for each, what do you think?
Number 5 in the US and number 6 in the UK. Well, I want to ask you about Things Can Only Get Better. Hit the R&B charts. Tell me about putting that song together.
I was on tour in the States trying to write the second album, which was Dream Into Action. I had to have a studio with me everywhere because I was on tour all the time. So I was writing on the road, and really that came from, I was writing it in dressing rooms, in venues like this, and basketball locker rooms, the gigs you were playing. I was thinking, when you're on tour, there's a certain energy because every night you're going out and you have to really pump it out, It's a good time to write because you're not in an introspective mode, you're in extrovert mode. So for me, people love to sing along. So I'm gonna have a chorus that's really joyful and doesn't even have lyrics, whoa.
Yeah.
And I wanted to continue that theme of, if you made the most terrible mistake and you oh no, what have I done now? You can always go, right, okay, I can change this, I can turn this around. That's the past, I can create a new thing, I can create value from, whatever terrible situation is in front of me. And, I can make it so that things can only get better. To always have that sort of forward-looking positivity, I think is it's good for everyone to hear that, and I think pop songs can really fulfill that, you don't want to be listening to that all the time, but certain crucial moments, that can give you a real boost, and music can give a boost. That's what I love, I believe that. The song is about, no matter how bad it gets, you've got the power in your life, inside you, to turn it around and to create value from it and make it great. That's what being a human being is mainly about. How do we do that? How do we get ourselves into a place where we aren't destroyed by things going wrong?
Yeah.
Because they do, and they will, and they always will. So, but how do we turn it into something good? So that's things can only get better, really.
No one is to blame. That is a song that will always hold a special place in my heart and so many people's hearts.
Yeah, well, I was doing record promotion with the guy from Elektra Records. He was a great guy, really lively and fun. We were crossing the road to go to another station. He said to me, "Yeah, hey man, what do you think of all the amazing women here in San Francisco?" And I said, "Well, they are amazing, just like women all over the world. They're amazing." He said, "You can look at the menu, but you don't have to eat." And even though that's not really the context I used that in the song.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's not. It's a
different idea.
Totally different idea.
Yeah.
And that's what triggered it.
You can look at the menu, but you just can't eat.
Because I'd never really heard that expression before. I know it's a common expression.
It's an American, yeah.
The way I used it in the song isn't quite the same.
No.
It's a very different
So
take on it.
Almost like it started you off, right?
Yeah.
And you had an idea of where you wanted to go with that.
Yeah, but it's about that. Okay, it's in all of us to want these things, and this song can be, a big part of it is infidelity, I suppose. You can want those things, but if you do, and if you go for it, you've got to be prepared to pay the price for it. So, it doesn't come, without a cost.
Doctor says you're cured, but you still feel the pain.
I think it's a song about being honest, that, that we are attracted to maybe almost everybody we meet. You know what I mean? So, but,
in some way.
That's in some way. So, and it's good to acknowledge that, but also you got to deal with reality and choose which way you want to be,
You can see the summit, but you can't reach it.
It's like you have to make those decisions. So the song explores all that stuff, I think, now that I can feel I can articulate it better now than I could when I wrote it.
But it's interesting because a record executive told you, "Oh, well, that's a great song. It's a B-side."
That's right. Yeah, I played the song to him in his office because he had it was the days when record companies had pianos in their offices. Played it to him. Said, "Oh, that's a B-side," and I said, "I really think this song could do well at radio, especially in America." I say to people, you've got to believe in your own work. You have to say, "No, actually, I really believe in this. I think it could be good." And they did release it, and it was my biggest song really in America. Yeah.
Went to number 4 and
But actually it would have been number 1 because there was one big station, Z100, one of the biggest radio stations, and they were playing it every hour, but they refused to add it because there was some dispute with Elektra.
oh my gosh.
Right? So if they'd added it, it would have been number 1.
Yeah.
So
no doubt, because
it's one of those things. But the great thing is, everywhere I go in America, everyone knows that song.
a lot of the people who just know, oh, that's a great song, don't realize that there's two versions of the song. I mean, you released a very, which is, I love both versions of the song, but they're both unique and great in their own way, because the first one is kind of you, very poetic. It's you kind of feeling it out. But then your Phil Collins one was great. Tell me about that.
You know, I've been working with Phil on the Prince's Trust shows back in the UK. So I thought, you know, asked him if he would, you know, work with me on that, and he agreed. You know, he really liked the song. He had a couple of weekends to spare in between making a Genesis record. So he said, look, just program up a 2-bar loop for me so I can play drums to it, because that's the way he always did his own records. Drum machine loop playing over the top. So I spent like a whole weekend working on this 2-bar loop, and I put everything I had into it. And when he heard it, he absolutely loved it. And that became maybe the biggest hook in the song. It's what starts everything. And him and Hugh just loved it. They thought it was right. They wanted to keep it all throughout the whole song. But you can't reach it. And I had people come up to me, you know, big record company people say, oh man, that percussion loop at the beginning there, that's amazing that Phil Collins did that. No, that was me. Sorry, but that was me.
That's great.
And Aphrodisiac obviously sang on that as well, the backing vocals on that. It was right, you know, everything fell together so well, that song. And Hugh did a brilliant mix, and, you know, Phil's trademark drums.
Everlasting Love, #1 hit. On the AC charts, but you know, crossover, because it modern rock charts and the pop charts and the AC charts, I mean, it was all over the place. What inspired that? How did that come about?
Everlasting Love, you know, I'm just, again, it's, I suppose, it's exploring the idea of what love is. Again, you know, he wasn't looking for a pretty face, and she wasn't searching for the latest style. She wasn't searching for the latest style. They wanted something a bit more, you know. You can't be satisfied with that. You've got to look deeper into a person to know whether this is going to work, and not be superficial about it, I suppose. It's revisiting what is love, really.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
The second part, in a way.
Yeah, part 2, yeah.
Really true love, you know, finding that true love, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is pressure to come up with the hits, and I was trying to, but I wanted it to be interesting at the same time. I wanted to have some twists and turns, and, you know, things you didn't expect.
Yeah.
Actually, asked Phil Collins to produce it with me, actually. And he loved the song, but, you know, he was too committed, and with other things he couldn't do it.
He was doing a solo album at the time.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, ended up doing it with Chris, which was, you know, was absolutely perfect. You know, if you want to have a great relationship with a partner, you know, you've got to work at it, and you've got to wait for it to come right. You know, it's not something that's going to just happen. You know, and it's like, you know, people looking for, you know, not looking for a pretty face, not looking for the latest style.
Yeah.
Not somebody who just walked off the tee. You know, look for the real qualities in a person that are going to have longevity, you know. And I mean, everyone's got that side to them, but if you want to have a great relationship, you got to be serious about it.
You've crossed over a lot, you know, with the audience here in America.
Yeah,
I mean, to hit the R&B charts, also hit the AC charts and the modern rock and all that.
Yes. It's interesting things. I have lots of different sides to my writing, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes people don't know who you are, but you know, I'm so fortunate that my fans have really, you know, they've got a broad
Yes.
taste, and they like all the aspects of it. Yeah.
I know we got to wrap up because you got a sound check here in a minute, and we got all this noise. But I want to ask you about Last Supper.
Yeah.
Because that's always an album track that I thought was just outrageously beautiful. Just such an amazing song.
This is all I suffer together.
It was actually brought on by somebody that I'd worked with for many years, was going to move on to pursue their own thing. And I was wanting to express, you know, all the emotions of that. So really that's, and it sounds like it's, you know, a romantic thing, but it can apply to many, many things. It's our last supper together, last time we were sharing this intimacy. We have created a suffering circle, and so it's gone a bit wrong. So it's time for it to, you know, to end.
Yeah.
And it's a painful thing, but it's got to happen.
Well, Howard, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure as always.
Adam, great talking with you. You're brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
You as well.
Brilliant.
Looking forward to the show tonight.
It's too bland.
Hey, leave us a comment about Howard Jones and these great songs. Oh man, so many great classic songs from Hojo. What are your memories of these songs? And what are your feelings about Hojo and his music? Let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friend.